Dust drifted low and lazy across the Wyoming range as Cole Maddox finished checking the south fence line. The sun was dropping behind the buttes, washing the land in gold and copper. Cole wiped sweat from his forehead, thinking the evening would be quiet, until he spotted someone stumbling toward his ranch house. At first he thought it was a drifter, but the closer he got, the more he noticed the limp, the exhaustion, the torn dress fluttering in the wind. When she finally reached him, she collapsed against his chest. "Cole, I'll have your baby," Elena whispered, trembling. He froze. Those words didn't belong out here, not like this, not spoken with fear cracking every syllable. Before he could respond, she looked up at him with desperate eyes. "But you need to get us out of here. They're coming." Cole didn't need to ask who they were. Trouble had been stirring around the territory, barn burnings, cattle runoffs, whispers about Ryker Hale's gang spreading farther than usual. But why were they chasing her? Elena had always been more mystery than certainty ever since she'd arrived 2 months ago to work at the nearby trading post. Cole sensed she carried secrets, but nothing that would cause outlaws to hunt her down. He ushered her toward the horse. "You're safe now," he said, though he wasn't sure it was true. Elena shook her head, panic rising. "Cole, you don't understand. They want something from me. And they'll kill anyone helping me." Cole tightened his jaw. He'd never backed down from a fight, especially when someone needed protection. Before they could mount, the faint echo of riders drifted across the prairie. Elena stiffened. Cole grabbed her waist and lifted her onto the horse in one smooth motion. "Whatever this is," he muttered, "we'll deal with it together." She clung to the saddle horn as he swung behind her. "Hold on," he said, kicking the horse forward as the first distant gunshot cracked across the open land. The horse leapt into a hard gallop. Wind tore at their clothes, dirt stung their eyes, and the world became nothing but hoofbeats and breathless fear. Elena kept glancing back. "They're faster than I thought," she whispered. Cole reached around her, steadying her. "So are we." Still, he could sense the outlaws closing the gap. The wide plains offered no cover, so he veered toward the canyon, hoping the narrow path would buy them time. As they approached the rocky pass, Elena leaned closer, her voice barely a breath. "I didn't want this life for you, Cole. You're a good man." He didn't answer. Not yet. Because whatever secret she carried wasn't just her burden anymore. It was his too. And as the canyon swallowed them in shadow, Cole knew one thing for sure: whatever came next, he was seeing it through. Cole pressed the horse deeper into the canyon, letting the echo of their hoofbeats bounce off the stone. He listened carefully. 3 riders, maybe 4, judging by the rhythm. Ryker's men were spread out, trying to flush them, not rush them. Elena kept her head low, breath shaky, hands gripping his coat like she feared he might vanish if she let go. When the canyon suddenly narrowed, Cole pulled the reins sharply, stopping beside a wall of boulders broken loose from some long-ago storm. Perfect cover, if they used it right. He slid off the horse and helped her down. "Stay behind the rocks," he ordered. "If they fire, don't move unless I tell you." Elena nodded, but her eyes clung to him, full of something between fear and trust. Cole crouched behind the largest boulder, pistol drawn, every sense razor sharp. The riders appeared moments later, silhouettes against the sky above the canyon mouth. Their horses kicked up dust as they slowed, surveying the shadows. One called out, "Maddox. We know you got the girl." Cole didn't answer. Another voice chimed in, a familiar drawl that made Cole's blood heat. "Ryker Hale himself. I'm giving you one chance," Ryker shouted. "Hand her over, and we'll let you live." Cole snorted under his breath. Ryker's promises were worth less than snake spit. He waited, letting them edge closer. When the first outlaw leaned forward to peer into the rocks, Cole fired. The shot hit the ground near the man's boot, sending the horse rearing. Chaos erupted, shouts, scrambling hooves, ricocheting bullets. Elena ducked, covering her ears as stone chips rained around her. Cole fired again, this time low, forcing the men to scatter for cover of their own. They hadn't expected him to fight back so quickly. He used that advantage, moving positions to keep them guessing. But he noticed something. They avoided shooting toward Elena's side of the boulder. That confirmed her fear. They needed her alive. When the gunfire paused, Ryker's voice cut through the dust. "Maddox, you ain't got the numbers. And you're guarding something that ain't yours." Cole held his aim steady. "That woman doesn't belong to you either," he yelled back. "And she sure as hell doesn't want to." Ryker laughed. "She has something of ours. And we aim to take it." Elena touched Cole's arm lightly. "He's after my father's land deed," she whispered. "The land sits on silver, more than anyone knew. My father hid the deed before he died. Only I know the location." Cole exhaled slowly. That explained everything, the chase, the desperation, the danger. "Then they'll keep coming," he said. "Unless we get to it first." She nodded, eyes determined despite the fear. "I'll show you. But we have to make it out alive." Cole grabbed her hand, readying to move. They couldn't stay pinned here. Night was falling, and the canyon would soon turn pitch black. And somewhere out there, Ryker was waiting. The canyon grew colder as night settled over the rocks, shadows stretching long and twisting like silent watchers. Cole knew they had only a few minutes before Ryker's men regrouped. His horse shifted nervously, sensing danger. Elena stayed close, her breath unsteady but her eyes sharp, focused. She wasn't the fragile woman he'd first seen stumbling toward the ranch, she was a survivor forced into a fight she never asked for. And now, she was trusting him with her life. Cole scanned the ridge. "We can't stay here. Once the moon rises, they'll spot us easy." Elena swallowed hard. "Then we run." He shook his head. "Not blind. We use the dark before it works against us." He led her to the horse, but before mounting, he paused. "Elena, that land deed. Where is it?" She hesitated. "Hidden in my father's cabin. Near Dead River." "But Cole, Ryker knows the area. He's searched it before. If he finds it this time." "He won't," Cole said, steady and certain. "Not before us." A shout echoed from the canyon mouth, Ryker's men regrouping. Cole acted fast, lifting her onto the saddle and swinging up behind her. "Lean low," he murmured, before urging the horse forward into the deeper, narrower trails carved by storms and time. The path twisted sharply, rocks scraping their boots. Cole controlled the horse with quiet skill, letting it pick careful steps through gaps barely wide enough for its body. Elena whispered, "How do you know these trails?" "Ran cattle through here since I was 14, he replied. "These canyons raised me almost as much as the ranch did." A sudden crack of a twig made them both freeze. Cole drew his pistol silently and signaled Elena to stay still. For a moment, he heard nothing but their own breathing, then a soft shuffle. Not human. A deer darted across a ridge above them, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. Elena exhaled in relief, pressing a hand to her chest. Cole touched her shoulder gently. "You're doing fine." They continued deeper until the canyon opened into a hidden bowl of land shaped by centuries of wind. Here, the moonlight couldn't reach, and darkness wrapped around them like a shield. Cole dismounted and guided the horse to a cluster of pines. "We'll rest here a few minutes," he said. "Ryker won't risk his men in the dark passes. Too many broke legs and lost riders." Elena slid down, her knees shaking. "Cole, thank you. I never meant to bring this into your life." He looked at her, his voice low. "Maybe it was supposed to happen. Maybe I was meant to find you tonight." Her eyes softened, real, vulnerable, full of things she couldn't yet speak. Before either could say more, Cole stiffened. Hoofbeats, distant, faint, but unmistakable. Ryker's men hadn't stopped. They were pushing deeper, ignoring the risk. "They're coming," Elena whispered. Cole's jaw tightened. "Then we move before they close this gap." He helped her mount again, his resolve hardening. The chase wasn't ending, it was only beginning. And whatever lay ahead, land deed, danger, or destiny, he and Elena would face it together. The night wind sharpened as Cole urged the horse eastward, away from the deep canyon bowl and into the rugged uplands that stretched toward the abandoned mining trails. The land here was rough, scrub grass, pockets of shale, and slopes carved by old floods. Elena held tight to the saddle horn, her body pressed against Cole as the horse climbed the rise. Behind them, the faint echo of hoofbeats followed like a ghost refusing to fade. Ryker's gang wasn't giving up. Not tonight. When they reached the top of the ridge, Cole slowed, scanning the dark horizon. The moon remained hidden behind thick clouds, giving them the advantage for now. But the silence unsettled him. Ryker's men were good trackers, they'd spread out, circling, maybe even trying to cut them off ahead. The thought tightened his grip on the reins. Elena's voice broke the quiet. "Cole, when we get to the cabin, do you think the deed is still there?" "If your father hid it the way you said, it'd take more than Ryker's boys to find it," he replied. "But we'll know soon enough." They rode down the slope, hooves muffled in the loose earth. Cole guided the horse into a thicket of cottonwoods near a creek bed. The water glimmered faintly in the darkness. He halted the horse and listened. Nothing. Only the soft whisper of the creek and the rustling leaves. For a moment, they were alone. Safe, if such a word still meant anything. Cole slid off and helped Elena down. We'll give the horse a minute to drink. Then we keep moving. Elena knelt by the creek, splashing cool water on her face. The reflection that stared back at her looked different, worn, frightened, but stronger than before. She watched Cole as he walked the horse along the bank, letting it drink. The faint moonlight revealed the strain etched in his features, though he tried to hide it. You didn't have to do any of this, she said softly. Cole turned toward her. Yes, I did. Why? He hesitated. Because, sometimes you just know when something is worth fighting for. Her breath caught. She wanted to say something back, something true, but the moment shattered when a single gunshot cracked through the night. Cole shoved Elena behind a fallen log as bullets tore through branches above them. The horse bolted, frightened by the sudden noise. Cole fired back twice, aiming toward the ridge where the muzzle flash had flickered. Elena clutched his arm. How did they find us? Ryker's got men who can track in the dark, Cole growled. We have to move, now. They scrambled along the creek, keeping low, sprinting through shadows. More shots rang out, chasing them like angry sparks. Elena slipped on the wet stones, but Cole caught her, pulling her close, shielding her with his body as they crossed to the other side. When they finally reached cover beneath an overhang of rock, Elena collapsed to her knees, gasping. Cole crouched beside her, checking her for injuries. You hurt. She shook her head. No, but we can't outrun them forever. Maybe not, Cole said, loading new rounds into his pistol. But we can outsmart them. He looked toward the dark hills rising ahead, the route to Dead River, to the cabin, to the truth they desperately needed. And behind them, Ryker's gang gathered like wolves closing in. Cole took Elena's hand. We finish this. Together. She nodded, fear and courage mixing in her eyes. The night swallowed their footsteps as they ran toward the only hope they had left. The hills surrounding Dead River were rugged, lonely, and shaped by years of harsh winters. Cole knew these lands well enough to navigate them in the dark, but every shadow felt heavier tonight, every gust of wind like a warning. Elena stayed close beside him as they moved on foot, the horse long gone after the gunfire. Without it, the journey would take longer, and Ryker's men would gain ground faster. They reached a narrow ledge that curved along the hillside. Below them, the faint shimmer of Dead River glided through the valley, its surface reflecting thin streaks of moonlight. Elena paused to catch her breath. Cole, the cabin isn't far now. Maybe half a mile. Her voice trembled, not from fear but exhaustion. Yet she kept going. Cole studied her quietly. She'd held up better than most men he'd ridden with. The strength in her surprised him more each mile. We'll make it, he said. But once we get that deed, things won't get easier. I know, she whispered. But at least we'll have a chance. They continued until a familiar shape appeared through the trees, an old cabin, dark and silent, half swallowed by wild grass. Its slanted roof sagged, and the porch boards had long since rotted, but it still stood against the wind like a stubborn relic refusing to fall. Elena touched the door with trembling fingers. My father built this with his own hands. Cole watched her carefully. You sure the deed is inside? Yes. He hid it somewhere only he believed I'd look. She moved to the old fireplace, kneeling beside the cracked stones. He always told me the fire keeps secrets warm. Cole scanned the room, windows broken, dust thick, but no sign anyone had torn through recently. Ryker hadn't found this place yet. Good. Elena pried loose a loose brick from the hearth. Behind it, something stuck out, a small oilskin pouch, tied tight. She gasped softly, pulling it free. It's here. Cole stepped closer, but before she could untie it, the cabin floorboards groaned under a heavy boot. Thought I might find you two here. Ryker Hale stood in the doorway, gun drawn, grin cold. Two of his men flanked him, blocking the exit. Cole instinctively pushed Elena behind him, muscles tensing. Ryker tilted his head. Mighty kind of you to save me the trouble of searching. Hand it over, Elena. She shook her head. You'll never get your hands on my father's land. Ryker chuckled. Sweetheart, I already own half this territory. That land is just a bonus. Silver that pure belongs to men who know how to use it. Cole stepped forward, gun raised. You're not leaving with anything. Ryker smiled wider. Then you'll die for something that isn't even yours. The standoff stretched, tense enough to break air itself. Cole's finger tightened on the trigger. He had one shot, maybe two. Enough to drop Ryker or create an opening. Nothing more. Elena clutched the pouch to her chest, eyes filled with terror and resolve. Cole glanced at her, only for a second, but in her gaze he saw everything: trust, fear, and the promise she'd made him from the very start. "I'll have your baby," she had said. And now, he would fight for them both. The moment snapped. Ryker fired. Cole lunged. And the cabin exploded into chaos. Gunfire roared inside the small cabin like thunder trapped in a box. Cole shoved Elena to the floor just as Ryker's bullets slammed into the wall behind them, splintering wood like flying needles. Cole rolled behind the old table, firing back twice. One outlaw dropped instantly, crashing into the doorway. The other ducked behind a support beam, returning fire wildly. Smoke filled the air, mixing with the scent of dust and old timber. "Elena, stay down," Cole shouted. "I'm trying," she cried, keeping the pouch clutched tight under her chest as she crawled behind the stone hearth. Ryker laughed over the chaos. "You're just one man, Maddox. And you can't protect her forever." Cole didn't reply, he focused on timing. Ryker's men were reckless, impatient. Ryker himself was too confident. That arrogance was Cole's advantage. The second outlaw leaned out with a clear shot at Cole. Before he could fire, Cole flipped the table over and slammed it against him, pinning the man to the beam. The gun dropped from the man's hand. Cole kicked it aside, then grabbed the outlaw and used him as a shield. Ryker snarled and fired again, the bullet hitting his own man in the shoulder. "You always were a bad shot," Cole shouted. Ryker fired again, rage replacing accuracy. Cole shoved the wounded outlaw away and rushed across the room, slamming into Ryker with full force. Both men crashed outside onto the dirt, grappling in the cold night under the stars. Ryker was strong, mean, and quick, but Cole had something he didn't: a reason to survive. Ryker swung first, hitting Cole across the jaw. Pain exploded, but Cole didn't fall. He countered with a punch to Ryker's ribs, then another to the jaw. Ryker stumbled back, breathing hard. "That land should have been mine," Ryker shouted. "It was never yours," Cole growled. "You don't take what isn't given." Ryker lunged, pulling a knife from his boot. The blade flashed in the moonlight. Cole dodged, feeling the air split near his neck. He grabbed Ryker's wrist, twisting until the outlaw cried out. The knife dropped. Cole kicked it away and hit Ryker square across the face. Ryker fell to his knees, dazed. "You don't deserve this land," Cole said, standing over him. "And you sure as hell don't deserve her." Ryker snarled one last curse and reached for his hidden gun, but Cole was faster. One clean shot. Ryker collapsed, eyes wide, breath gone. Silence took the night. Inside the cabin, Elena crawled out, trembling. "Cole." He turned, breathing hard. "It's over." She ran to him, throwing her arms around him. For the first time that night, he allowed himself to hold her fully, without fear of what came next. She buried her face against him. "I thought I'd lose you." "You won't," he whispered. "Not now. Not ever." She pressed the pouch into his hand. "The deed, it's safe. But Cole, I don't want the land for silver. I want it because it's my father's legacy. Maybe it can be our future." Cole looked into her eyes, soft and full of hope. "I'd like that future," he said. "For us. And for the baby." She smiled through tears. "Then let's build it." Together they stepped out of the ruined cabin and into the first hint of dawn rising over the Wyoming hills, free, alive, and ready to face whatever the new day would bring.